Okay, I want to use the most recent quarter from Advanced Auto Parts, which was a catastrophe here. I want to use this as a teaching tool, actually. It looks like it can be used here to convey a couple of ideas that I'd like to get across to my audience. So first of all, what I want to do is show everybody the quick things that I will do to get up to speed on a company that I don't know. And I don't know this company at all, or didn't know it until I did these steps. And so I want to show kind of the quick things that I'll do to wrap my arms around some of the details of what's going on. And so this will be the first part of the call, and then the first part of the video. And then later, in the second part, I'll get into kind of another concept which probably is a source of frustration for investors, especially if they're still learning the game. Okay, but we'll get to that in a minute. So the first thing I want to do, we can see here the stock is down a lot, but I want to just quickly contextualize it. So I pull up a longer term chart, and of course we can see the stock was 240 bucks back in December of 2021 or January of 2022, so call it 18 months ago. And so it's down a lot, and it's just been a catastrophe, which has accelerated in the last day. So this is obviously really bad. You have to go way back. I mean, this stock now has kind of shown no return for 10 years, unfortunately. And then, so first of all, this is what I would do, just sort of put this in context. And then the next thing I would do is read the most recent conference call transcript. And Seeking Alpha is great for this. You can get transcripts, and what I would do here is just read it with an eye towards what are the problems, what's going wrong, and how delusional or realistic is management about the nature of the problems and their plan to solve it. So this is just, again, it's context, and I don't know what the problems are, but I would use this transcript to kind of get some context for what's going on. Likewise, I would look at the analysts' comments and questions and see kind of a sense of what consensus thinking is on this company and what the responses from management are. Are they clear? Are they open? Are they transparent? Or do they dodge the questions? So this is again, this sort of stuff that I would look for. Also, I obviously will read the press release and see what they do and what they talk about here. And we can see they're actually in the middle of a CEO transition. We can see that we printed operating margins of 2.6%, which is contextual importance that we'll see in a minute. And then we have, they took a big whack to guidance. And what's nice here, again, this goes towards transparency. The company gives the prior outlook and gives the updated outlook, and you can look at all the elements that they gave for guidance. So this is great. And if we look here at the bottom line, we've got a gigantic whack to earnings per share forecasts for the company. Basically, you're looking for $10 to $11 before, and now we're looking for $6 to $6.50 in earnings per share. And so we took about a 30 to 40% whack at earnings. It's funny because you can look at the stock price being down 35%, and you can make the argument that the PE stayed the same, right? We just cut the earnings expectations. So it's kind of interesting how that can happen sometimes. And then the next thing I would do is I would look at the income statement, balance sheet, and cash flow. Just give each of these three financial statements a cursory look. Now, implicit in this for you is that you need to be able to read these financial statements. And if you aren't that good at doing this, I would say just you want to take a managerial accounting class so that you can read these financial statements. And what I would do is with the income statement, I would look at prior profitability metrics and see how they look in comparison to where the company's at now. And specifically on this, on video 134, 3 videos ago, we did a quick video on LL Floorings, LL Flooring, ticker LL, and we did an exercise of looking at prior profitability metrics and kind of gauging what this company could earn if they went back to those prior profitability levels. Right now the company's experiencing distress, but if they went back to what they were before, what the stock price could be. So video 134 goes through sort of the exercise that I would do here. And then you look at the balance sheet to see the level of liabilities they have, if there's any sort of stress on the balance sheet. And then cash flow, you want to look at operating cash flow metrics And here we can look at the prior years. You can see that operating cash flow peaked at 1.1 billion. The trailing 12 months was quite a bit less than that. And obviously the primary expense that they have for uses of cash is going to be something like CapEx for opening new stores. And so we can see here, we want to see, obviously we don't want to see this operating cash flow number go lower than it is because it doesn't cover CapEx, right? So these are the things that I would look at. And then the final thing I would do is just take some quick notes. And this is kind of the nomenclature that I use. Obviously, you'd be using your own way of noting things, but I would note the price now compared to prior peak. I would also just jot down some notes on prior peak operating margins, which were around 8%, and the most recent quarter at 2.6, and what the guidance implies. And then these are some of the questions that came to me from reading the transcript. The issues were kind of price competition and some potential structural changes in competition for this industry. And actually, come to think of it, we want to look at maybe big box stores as an issue. So that's another detail. The dividend cut is just to note that, and then the guidance cut. And then I want to also look at operating cash flow. So operating cash flow currently is equal to CapEx at 300 million, but peaky operating cash flow was 1.1 billion. So again, just file this away. If they get back to that level, I can compare that to the fact that they did it before. And then my instructions to myself, I keep an eye on this for the next few quarters. I want to look at the retail outlook for general retail, look at the auto market. What's interesting about auto parts is if, say, it's hard, if the economy slows, people end up maybe driving their cars for longer. This could be counterintuitively sort of bullish for an auto parts supplier because people might be looking for more parts to repair the autos they already have, right? So the economy, and what's interesting about this stock is that it might do better in a soft economic situation, maybe. But again, I don't know this company well enough, so what I'm really doing is writing some notes to myself to remember so that 3 months from now I can look at the next quarter, and 3 months after that look at the next quarter and just see how things are developing. Okay, so those are the actions that I would take just to start to get up to speed on a company that I don't know. And I wanted to teach this on this video. Now, the final idea I want to convey, the second idea, is kind of the central frustration to a lot of newer investors, people new to the game, that a lot of this work happened and it really resulted in nothing, if you think about it, right? No action, I didn't take any action, didn't make a buy, not gonna make a buy. All I did was write some notes in a file or in my notebook about something I might look at in the future, and I still might not take action, right? And so this is something that is sort of centrally frustrating about investing. There's a lot of activity, but with no visible evidence of that activity or no action taken. And that's just the reality of investing. A lot of times you do some work, you take some notes, and nothing happens. But what you're really doing is you're sort of preparing potentially to pounce in the future or to take some sort of starter position in the future. And so the metaphor really here is hunting, right? You have to work on certain things, you have to have your tools and your equipment ready, and you have to be sitting in the forest ready in case an opportunity comes along your visual field and you can take your shot, right? So this is just another central metaphor for investing. A lot of times nothing happens and there's nothing to do, but you just get some context, take some notes, and you're just potentially ready in the future, okay? So as always, I hope these videos help, and thanks again for watching.